from the Zoom Q&A. My team was wondering, what are the current policies on the rights of children to request name and or pronoun changes within the classroom without informing their parents? We have found that school boards are often silent and or will not allow for this without parental permission. And what would the most trans-affirming approach be to these requests by students? Thanks so much for this much needed resource. So I don't know the provincial piece. I know usually it's the school boards will have their own policies or procedures set out to support students in this mechanism. I do agree that often school boards are silent about this, but it should never require parental permission. It depends, I think, it also depends where your board is located. Oftentimes, you will find name requests and pronoun changes within either embedded in human rights policy or specifically the board's trans inclusive policy or gender identity policy. So it's, as far as I'm aware, it's more of a conversation with at the board level about what this inclusivity looks like in the policy piece.
Right now in Ontario, there is no legislation that says that parents must be made aware.
Yeah.
I know that this is happening across Canada and that this is coming into play, but right now, through the Ontario Human Rights Code, which takes precedent over everything else, students inclusive of age, so it doesn't matter if they're 3 or they're 30, are allowed to have their affirmed name and pronouns used in schools without having that information shared.
And I was just going to say that the right to privacy is very, very clearly articulated in the Ontario Human Rights Code. But we see where this is coming from, right? Like what's happening in New Brunswick, what's happening in Saskatchewan. There's this reverberating backlash and comments were made by Ford recently about, about indoctrinating children. And so there's been, now in Alberta, there are discussions as well about moving to prevent the respect of human rights of trans kids in schools being able to use their self-assigned names and pronouns. But in Ontario, there is certainly those rights are protected under the code.
We did have a question.
So we are seeing that growing discourse, right, from parental rights groups to push back against that, not just in Ontario, but it's been a conversation also over in California, which is the most progressive state in the United States, about what are parental rights. And it's very clear, again, in legislation that parental rights is not an existent thing. It's not named, it's not real. And so it's really about the right of what's safest and healthiest for the student. And that is, as Wayne said, the privacy of discretion.
Mic check.
This is great because